How was one of the league's best hitters overlooked for so long? He wasn't drafted until the 20th round. This guy was cut by the Houston Astros early in his career, only to become one of the most dangerous hitters in the MLB for nearly a decade. This, of course, is the story of JD Martinez. Why did he go unnoticed for so long? And what did JD adjust in 2014 that changed him as a hitter? Let's go back to early in JD's career, back when no one saw it coming. To be honest, he wasn't supposed to make it. In fact, when he was drafted by the Houston Astros in 2009, no one really expected much. He wasn't from some powerhouse college. He played Division II baseball at Nova Southeastern University, not exactly the kind of place you associate with future MLB stars. Then came the 2009 MLB draft. He was no frontline draft pick. JD was selected in the 20th round, 611th overall. Most guys picked that late are lucky to even make it to the majors. But JD wasn't like most guys. His biggest asset wasn't in flashy tools or insane raw power, it was in his work ethic. While other players might have been happy with their natural ability, JD dug deep into his swing. He obsessed over the mechanics. He studied hitters like Miguel Cabrera and Albert Pujols, analyzing their every move, trying to figure out the science behind their swings. He knew he had to outwork everyone because he wasn't getting by on pure talent. And that's exactly what he did. Year after year, he kept grinding, starting in the minors and steadily climbing. From rookie ball to Double-A, he kept hitting, proving that he had more to offer than anyone had given him credit for. He quickly climbed through the Astros farm system, as he won the Astros Minor League Player of the Year award in 2010. By July of 2011, 2 years after being drafted, he was on the Houston Astros roster. It was a huge accomplishment, but the hardest part was just about to begin. Although he had moments, the start to his major league career wasn't quite like the minors. Over the next 3 years, JD didn't quite break out the way everyone hoped. In 252 games with the Astros, he hit just 24 home runs with a .251 and a .723 OPS. That's not embarrassing, but it's certainly not the type of production that would make you feel secure as an MLB starter. The Astros were in rebuild mode and had no interest in waiting around for something to click for Martinez. In March 2014, just days before opening day, the Astros released him. For many players, that would have been the end, but not for JD Martinez. When the Astros let him go in 2014, not many people expected much. But just 2 days later, the Tigers picked him up, and that's when everything changed. Because JD wasn't going to let this opportunity slip away. He exploded onto the scene. He'd spent the offseason quietly reinventing his swing, working with a private coach and basically rebuilding himself as a hitter. And boy, did it pay off. In his first season with the Tigers, he hit .315 with 23 home runs and 76 RBIs in just 123 games. Just like that, he went from being cut to being one of the hottest bats in the league. And he didn't stop there. In 2015, he cranked things up even more. 38 home runs, over 100 RBIs, and a well-deserved trip to the All-Star game. In fact, he also snagged his first Silver Slugger award that year. People started realizing this guy wasn't just on a hot streak, he was the real deal. But here's the cool part, he wasn't just all offense. His defense got a serious upgrade too. He led the team with 15 outfield assists, proving he could flash the leather as well as the power. But what made the difference? According to his coaches and even Martinez himself, it was all about his mindset. He started approaching each at-bat with laser focus, watching film and studying pitchers. Instead of chasing bad pitches, he waited for his pitch and crushed it. By early 2016, he was still on fire. From being cut to becoming a cornerstone of the Tigers lineup, JD's turnaround was one of the most exciting stories in baseball. Unfortunately, injuries sidelined JD at times in 2016, with his tenure in Detroit limiting his time on the field. He continued his Detroit dominance in 2017, but the Tigers, they were a dumpster fire. The team was entering a rebuild, and JD, well, he was one of their most valuable trade pieces. So when July rolled around, it wasn't really a surprise when the Tigers shipped him off. What was a surprise, though, was what happened next. Arizona Diamondbacks were in a playoff push, and they needed a bat. They saw what JD was doing in Detroit. He'd already hit 16 homers in just 57 games despite starting the season late due to injury. So they pulled the trigger and traded for him mid-season. And they certainly got their money's worth when it comes to trade deadline rentals. The moment he landed in Arizona, JD went nuclear. Like video game mode nuclear. He mashed baseballs like it was batting practice. Over the next 62 games, he hit 29 home runs. Yes, you read that right. 29 in just over 2 months. That pace was historic. He didn't just hit homers, he hit tanks. Absolute moonshots. And one night in September, he did something that only 17 players in MLB history had done. He hit 4 home runs in a single game against the Dodgers. It was like watching a cheat code in action. His final stat line with Arizona was just absurd. A .302 batting average, 29 home runs, and 65 RBIs in 62 games. That's MVP level production in half a season. And the best part is that the Diamondbacks made it to the wildcard game, and JD played a massive role. He gave their lineup the thump it needed, the fear factor that opposing pitchers hated to face. The only downside? Everyone knew it was a rental. Martinez had played his way into a huge payday, and Arizona wasn't going to be the team to give it to him. But someone else would. After his ridiculous run with the Diamondbacks, JD Martinez entered free agency as one of the hottest hitters on the market. But strangely, the offers didn't come pouring in right away. Teams were hesitant. Was it a fluke? Was he injury prone? Could he really keep up that pace? The Boston Red Sox didn't care. They saw the numbers, they saw the work ethic, and they knew they needed a slugger to bolster their lineup. So in February 2018, they signed JD Martinez to a 5-year deal worth $110 million. And boy, did that investment pay off. In his very first season with the Sox, Martinez went absolutely ballistic. He hit .330, smashed 43 home runs, and racked up 130 RBIs. He was a monster in the heart of the lineup, constantly producing, constantly delivering. But beyond the stats, what he brought to Boston was fear. Opposing pitchers couldn't pitch around him because guys like Mookie Betts and Xander Bogaerts. That lineup became one of the most dangerous in all of baseball, and JD was the anchoring piece behind it. The 2018 Red Sox weren't just good, they were dominant. And when the postseason came around, JD stayed hot. Boston went on to win it all. World Series champions. And JD Martinez had cemented his legacy as not just a great hitter, but a championship caliber player. He followed that up with another tremendous year. In 2019, he hit 36 home runs and made his 3rd straight All-Star appearance. The guy was consistent. But then, something changed. By the time the 2020 season rolled around, everything was already off. The pandemic shortened the season to just 60 games. Stadiums were empty, routines were wrecked, and for a rhythm guy like JD Martinez, it showed. He struggled badly. For the first time since his Astros days, he looked lost. His average dropped to .213, his OPS sank to .680, and he only hit 7 home runs. It was a rough stretch. Fans started to wonder, was this the beginning of the end? But JD never made excuses. He admitted he struggled with the lack of in-game video access, a tool he used constantly to adjust and fine-tune his swing. He was a student of the game, and 2020 took away his classroom. Still, he didn't panic. He worked even harder in the offseason, determined to prove that 2020 was just a blip, not the new normal. And when the 2021 season rolled around, he bounced back. But that 2020 season remained a warning sign. The cracks were starting to show. And as his contract with Boston approached its end, people began to wonder, what's next for JD Martinez? In 2023, JD Martinez took his talents to the Los Angeles Dodgers on a 1-year deal. For a veteran like him, it was the perfect landing spot. A competitive team, a winning culture, and a familiar face in hitting, Coach Robert Van Scoyoc, who had helped him reinvent his swing years earlier. And just like that, the magic was back. JD looked himself again. He smashed 33 home runs, drove in 103 RBIs, and posted an .893 OPS. He wasn't just good, he was essential to that Dodgers lineup, especially after they dealt with a few injuries. He gave them power, he gave them experience, and he gave them consistency. For fans who thought he might be finished after Boston, Martinez reminded them exactly who he was. And when it came to mashing baseballs, the guy still had it. And the Dodgers loved having that kind of bat in the middle of their order. He even made his 6th All-Star team. The only question now, what would 2024 hold? Would another team step up? Could he land one more multi-year deal? As it turned out, 2024 didn't go quite the way anyone hoped. The New York Mets signed JD Martinez heading into the 2024 season with a clear hope. Maybe, just maybe, he still had one more big year left in the tank. Coming off an exciting 2023 with the Dodgers, where he proved he could still be a threat in the heart of a lineup, it wasn't a wild bet. The Mets, dealing with their own offensive inconsistencies, saw JD as a low-risk, high-reward kind of signing. A veteran bat, a proven performer who could make opposing pitchers nervous again. But almost from the beginning, something just felt off. Spring training didn't provide the typical excitement. JD wasn't spraying balls all over the field like he used to. He was dealing with what the team initially described as minor back tightness. Not exactly a red flag, but not what fans wanted to hear before opening day. When the season began, the struggle quietly followed him into April. His timing was off. He was late on fastballs that he used to turn around with ease. Breaking balls that he used to spit on were now fooling him. The bat speed that once made him deadly, it wasn't gone, but it was slower. Just enough for pitchers to notice, and in the big leagues, that's all it takes. Martinez missed a couple of weeks early in the season with a hamstring strain. It wasn't major, but it was enough to break any rhythm he was trying to build. And when he returned, it was more the same. Groundouts, weak fly balls, strikeouts that left him shaking his head as he walked back to the dugout. By June, it was no longer a slump, it was a trend. He finished the season hitting .227 with just 12 home runs and an OPS that barely cleared .690. For a guy as accomplished as Martinez, that's a tough season. But it wasn't just about numbers, it was about presence. In his prime, JD Martinez stepped into the box and pitchers felt it. He was a threat. One mistake and the ball was in the second deck. But in 2024, pitchers weren't nibbling. They were attacking, challenging him, and more often than not, they were winning. That's when the reality started to set in. The team tried shifting him in the order, giving him days off, hoping something would click, but it never really did. And as younger players got called up and roster decisions became tougher, JD found himself playing less and less. By late August, he was no longer a guaranteed name in the lineup. The frustration was visible. For a guy who built his career on proving people wrong, it must have been a tough pill to swallow. This was a man who, just a decade earlier, reinvented his swing in obscurity and became one of the most feared hitters in baseball. Now, at 36, the game seemed to be moving on without him. When the season ended, so did his contract, and no one has come calling. JD Martinez remains a free agent, unsigned, waiting, hoping. And that's the harsh reality of the game. Even if you're a six-time All-Star, a World Series champion, a guy with nearly 1,200 RBIs and more than 300 career home runs, you are not able to avoid the game passing you by one day. And for a 36-year-old DH with declining numbers and a recent injury history, the phone doesn't ring as much as it used to. Martinez hasn't said much publicly. No retirement announcement, no press tour, just quiet workouts in the offseason, a few social media posts, and the same message behind the scenes. He still wants to play, maybe not just baseball. He believes he can still hit. He's made a career out of proving that very thing. But with spring training long gone and the regular season in full swing, options are running out. Unless a team suffers a sudden injury or needs a veteran bat down the stretch, the opportunities may simply not be there. And if this is it, if this really is the final chapter of JD Martinez's career, then it's not going out with a bang, it's fading to black. But then again, that's what they said when the Astros cut him in 2014, and we all know how that turned out. So maybe, just maybe, this isn't the end. Maybe this is just the pause before one last swing. Because if there's one thing we've learned over the years, betting against JD Martinez is never a good idea.